On the last episode of Dankey Ball Z, our hero comrade Dankey was telling the Dankey Kang gang all about how stupid Joe Rogan was and how him and this libertarian chud Peter Schiff basically don't know Schiff about socialism. Where we last left off, Peter Schiff here was telling us how fascism and socialism are basically the same things, you guys.
But it doesn't mean that if you're a socialist, you're a communist, because you could be a fascist. You could be for a lot of things. But
So
fascism is a form of socialism where the government doesn't just steal all the property. Like the communists want to nationalize everything and take legal ownership of the means of production, right? The government just owns all the capital.
He's kind of right about that, but the key is that the government and socialism is owned, it is controlled by the proletariat, by the working class, and under capitalism it's controlled by the capitalist class. In fascism it's controlled by the capitalist class, ladies and gentlemen.
Under fascism, the government is a little bit smarter. They realize that people will work harder if they think they're working for themselves. So the fascist doesn't want to nationalize business.
So he literally just called fascism smarter than communism. Great job, Peter Schiff. Real big brain boy, libertarians. It's easy to see why so many of them follow the pipeline from libertarianism to fascism.
They just want to control it through regulation and taxes. And that's pretty much what the Democrats want to do. They want to control everything by taxing it heavily and regulating it. And that's an important aspect.
All right, dip fuck. Here are some key things that set apart fascism. Fascists are ultra nationalistic. They usually have a very elevated, highly deified view of their country, their history, their military, and they believe themselves to have been aggrieved by some kind of external or internal enemy, namely the Jews, or the blacks, or the immigrants, etc., etc. Then it's also identified by a fierce and intense opposition to communism and socialism. Basically anything left. It's far right, dude. It's meant to keep capitalism alive. It's a reactionary viewpoint. It's when the capitalist masters realize that the socialist revolution is here, they panic and they back fascists who promise a return to order, a return to the good old days when capitalism ruled and everyone knew their place. A key feature of fascism is, of course, this concept of a mythical golden age that we should return back to. This is something that anybody who studies fascism for 2 seconds understands. All the economic policies that the fascists enacted were protectionistic and stuff. That neoliberal economic policies that the modern day Democratic Party puts forth in the United States bear no resemblance whatsoever to Hitler's economic policies.
Aspect of fascism. I mean, a lot of people associate and regulating it, and that's an important aspect of fascism. I mean, a lot of people associate fascism with racism just because the Nazis were racist. But you don't have to be racist. I mean, fascism started in Italy, and there wasn't any racism there. And
there wasn't any racism in fascist Italy. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Hot take from the big brain libertarian Peter Schiff. No racism in fascist Italy, ladies and gentlemen.
If you go back to the Nazi Party, it's the National Socialist Party of Germany. That's what the Nazis...
Holy fuck, is he really this stupid? Peter Schiff, are you really this much of a fucking idiot? Do you not understand that when the Nazis use the term National Socialist, that doesn't make them socialist? The same way I can call myself a fucking astronaut, that doesn't make me one. Alright? Socialist indeed, alright? They have to be a socialist in action. They can't just call themselves the fucking National Socialist Party and then forever be associated with socialism forever. It's only fucking morons like you who are so ignorant of history. You don't know what the fuck Nazis are. You don't know what socialists are. You don't know what the fuck a Democrat is. You don't know what the fuck anything is, Peter Schiff. Jesus Christ. How did you get to be a CEO? How do you even fucking know how to wipe your ass? You're so stupid. This is your brain on libertarianism, folks.
Are. It's socialist. So fascism is a form of socialism. That's why the communists and the fascists, argue so much, because they're fighting over the same turf. It's which brand of socialism is better.
God damn it. This is just the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. I am at a loss for words, folks. I really am. I can abide people who are legitimately curious about socialism. They're asking questions. When I was first starting out, I didn't know what the fuck a dictatorship of the proletariat meant. I didn't know what all these fancy words meant. I could tell you that there was a giant difference between communism and fascism. Uh, I could tell you that there was a difference between communism and socialism, but I wasn't so much sure what that was. I couldn't really tell you in detail. But anybody with a fucking brain inside their heads knows that fascism and socialism are diametrically opposed. You fucking moron, dipshit, asshole.
Fascism or communism, but they're not at opposite ends of the political spectrum. They're on the same end.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. All right. Fascists want to take one group of people and put them on top of the pyramid. Okay, they want and that group of people is the personification of the state, and they live and die for the state. It's the elevation of the state and the national identity to an almost religious level, and anyone who is not fits in the very neat mold of that national identity finds themselves culled and excluded and killed and holocausted. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what fascism is. It's trying to rally the wagons, as it were, and defend the bourgeois capitalistic establishment, the elites, against the inevitable onslaught of the working class. It's a reactionary ideology meant as a counter to socialist revolution. Certainly not an iteration of it. And if you think that it's an iteration of socialism, you're either so ignorant of history, I suggest you go back in school and read some books, or you're just being deliberately stupid.
Support for socialism. Is there any place where socialism has worked, where there's like some extreme benefit?
The Soviet Union, pretty much, Jesus Christ, Cuba, Venezuela.
It's to the people that live there where they can show.
Because
the guys like you, the free market capitalist guys, you're always saying like, this is the solution. Capitalism is solution. Give people freedom is solution. Deregulation, that's the solution. Let businesses thrive. More people make money. Businesses will grow. People have more opportunity.
Yeah. Tell that to all these countries where the U.S. did CIA-backed dictatorships, and they were all capitalistic. Like, look at Salvador Allende's Chile. That's a perfect example of the libertarian economic policies applied. You had Milton Friedman, libertarian economic advisor, basically serve as economic advisor to General Augusto Pinochet after the military coup that was backed by the CIA, which overthrew democratically elected socialist President Salvador Allende. So you have American American-backed dictatorship of Pinochet, influenced by libertarian economics of Milton Friedman, and it was a fucking disaster. You had Pinochet, you had Allende's Chile, and then you had Pinochet's Chile. Allende's Chile was nice. Allende's Chile was progressive. Allende's Chile was looking up and looking pretty good. Pinochet came along and fucked the whole thing up, ladies and gentlemen. And look at what's happening right now in Brazil. Contrast that with how it was during Lula. It's just the difference is night and day, folks. Look at Look at Cuba before Castro came along. It was fucking miserable for the overwhelming majority of Cubans.
People think it's worked in Scandinavia. They always want to talk about.
All right, once again, these idiots. Scandinavia is not socialist. I don't know how many times I can keep saying that Scandinavia is not socialist, ladies and gentlemen. They're not socialist. They're not communist. They're social democrats. They're social democracies, folks. That's what they are, okay? That's all they are. They're not these Marxist utopias, ladies and gentlemen.
Sweden, right, as an example of where socialism works. Well, talk to a Swede, right? And they'll tell you that it doesn't work. But if you want to look at the history of Swedish socialism, Sweden became a very wealthy country before they had that socialism, right? They were very much of a free market economy, and it was the freedom that produced all the wealth. But then whenever you have wealth and you have freedom,
it was just the pure freedom, guys. The freedom produced all the wealth. It wasn't the exploitation of the working class by the capitalists. It wasn't that at all. It was the freedom.
You're always going to have inequality, right? Because people are smarter than other people, more ambitious, harder working. So whenever you have freedom, you're not going to have equality in outcome.
Again, with this fucking stupid argument, they always say, "Oh, socialists want equality of outcome." Nobody's arguing that. Okay, you think that capitalism gives people freedom? Capitalism tells everybody to live under the boot of the big boss. And the boss, 99.9999% of the time didn't deserve the wealth that they have. They certainly don't deserve the right to exploit and oppress their fellow workers, their employees, just because he owns the means of production. That's bullshit. And for him to say that freedom gives people, because everybody has different skill levels, and so his whole insistence, and whenever people talk about this, like, "Oh, the human race is unequal, dude. Some people are better than others. Just deal with it." Like, okay, you think every single millionaire CEO chud out there, like Peter Schiff, deserves every red cent that they make? You honestly think like dipshits like Jeff Bezos deserve that $200 billion net worth that they have? Every single penny of it? You think they deserve it? Because they're just so much smarter than everybody else. If Jeff Bezos earned that because he was smarter than everybody else, then his brain would be the size of the fucking sun. All right? Don't come to me with that. Oh, socialists want literally everybody to have the exact same outcome in life. No, bitch. We just want capitalism to die, and once capitalism dies, we'll all be free to decide our own outcomes in life, and not have to bend and scrape the needs of the capitalist masters anymore. So if anything, socialism gives you shit tons more freedom than the so-called free market.
Even if everybody has, an equal opportunity, and of course, even that's not true. Everybody is equal in the eyes of the law, but there's always going to be some people that will have an advantage. Maybe they have better connections.
This idiot is so naive. He really thinks that everybody's equal in the eyes of the law. This guy doesn't think we have a two-tiered justice system here in the United States. I mean, just leave it to a fucking CEO to say some stupid, ignorant shit like that. And that's the thing with these CEO libertarians and just libertarians in general. They think they're so fucking smart, right? They think that they are just the greatest scholars on earth. They don't know jack shit.
We're born to, parents that are, have more money, and they can give them a leg up. So you're always going to have unequal outcomes. Some people are going to be rich relative to other people. But the beauty of capitalism.
But see, this is what Peter Schiff, this is his big mistake. He thinks a person's richness is reflective of like their skill or their mental capacity. He doesn't think that it just happened because they own the fucking means of production. That's the only thing they did to get that richness. Like, oh no, every single CEO did some fucking hard work and some sweat and some giant innovation, and they earned every cent of that fortune by their own labor. That's bullshit, my friend. The fortunes that capitalists make are amassed by the labors of their worker and through the exploitation of that labor, my friend. And if you don't understand that, you need to read Marx.
Is that everybody is better off. When you end up with socialism, you equalize everybody, but you equalize them at a lower level. You redistribute the poverty. The people who end up wealthy are the people who have political connections. So
once again, this is the same shit I've been hearing since my fucking childhood about socialism. Ooh, they just want to turn everybody poor. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Fucking capitalism doesn't keep us all poor. I'm sorry, have you looked at the wealth income gap in this country? Have you looked at how many people make up the top 1%? That's why it's called the 1%. Because they're such a small part of the population, they're about 1% of it. And they control a giant fucking metric butt ton of the wealth in this country. Oh, but they did it because of their own smarts and their innovation, their bootstraps. I hate this bootstrap fucking bullshit that libertarians throw out all the time. It's
the
so
wealthy
dated.
people in socialist countries are the people who have political connections.
Well, what happened with Sweden?
So let me go. Yeah, I'm going to go back to Sweden. So Sweden was very rich.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have the demagogues, the politicians who will get votes by appealing to envy. Hey, this guy has more than you.
And that's what they think. They think like socialism is just based in envy, and that's all it is. Like, they don't understand the complex economic theories of Marx, his analysis of like historical materialism and class struggle. They just boil it down to, oh, they're just pissed off because they're not rich like us. This is how fucking rich bougie people think, ladies and gentlemen. It's disgusting. They're so blind to their own privilege. They don't know jack shit about class struggle. They don't know jack shit about dialectical materialism, historical materialism. They don't know jack shit about any of that, but they think that they know better than all these so-called socialists. They go around telling us that we're all pie in the sky, idiot, batshit crazy guys. They don't know. They can't even get on the same fucking level that we're operating on, comrades. They don't have a fucking clue. They don't have the first fucking grasp. They don't know what the fuck we're even talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It's infuriating. I'm getting major like creationist flashbacks right now because it's just like talking to a creationist. They claim to have an expertise in a field that they know absolutely fuck all about.
It's not fair. And of course, politicians always promise something for nothing, right? Vote for me and I'll give you this that you don't have to work for, right? I mean, that is the problem with a democracy. I mean, people vote for crazy things. That's why the founding fathers, when they created America, they created a republic, right? People don't understand the distinction.
All right, so according to Big Brain Libertarian, democracy bad, republic good. Too much democracy, that's bad, folks.
But we're not supposed to be a democracy. The word democracy does not appear in the Constitution. It does not appear in the Declaration of Independence. Just the Pledge of Allegiance, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Republic, right? So we're a republic. We're not a democracy because the founding fathers knew the dangers of democracy. Well, democracy is what brought socialism into Sweden, and it's screwed.
I don't know if I can keep listening to this. This is going to give me a brain aneurysm. And I would hate for this to be the last fucking thing I have going through my head before I die. I'm losing brain cells by the billions every second that I'm watching this stupid fuck.
Screwed them up, right? It screwed the economy up so much that in the last 10 years, they've gone the other way. They've lowered income taxes. They've abolished the inheritance tax in Sweden. I mean, they got rid. Does that sound socialist?
So the last 10 years. So previous to that.
Once again, Sweden's not socialist. It's social democrat. They are making just this giant fucking straw man just so they can tear it down and feel like real big brain boys here, but they don't know jack shit. They're idiots.
Socialism had a stronghold.
We're watching two idiots talk about something that isn't real because their whole conception about socialism isn't real. It's just, I'm sorry, definitionally, it's not true. They're living in a fantasy world, ladies and gentlemen. They don't fucking understand what they're talking about.
Hold.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
For
was.
how
It was
long?
getting bigger and bigger. Probably going from the 70s, 80s. The Swedish mixed economy, just like it bankrupted New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand used to be the poster boy for.
Hey guys, remember when when New Zealand was socialist? I remember that.
Mixed economy socialism until they got bankrupt.
So
and
Sweden
then,
is the only successful.
No, they're not.
And it's not.
No,
but
they
I
were
was just going to say that it's the only example that someone can cite, and that's not a successful
they'll
example.
cite Norway, a lot of the Scandinavian countries,
Look at the fucking Soviet Union, you fucking assholes.
Denmark. But you have to look at how successful they were before they became socialist, and then you also have to look at what.
Okay, well, do that. Do that with the Soviet Union, because before socialism, everything fucking sucked. Everybody lived like a medieval peasant. And after socialism, you had industrialization. You had everybody was literate. They had education. They had access to all these job opportunities, and quality of life was raised a metric buttload by the end of that generation. Just one generation. That you can talk about their accomplishments in the space race. You can talk about their accomplishments in World War II and how they saved the world from Nazism. I mean, the accomplishments of socialism are huge, and the accomplishments of the Soviet Union alone are huge.
What the government is doing there, because the taxes on business are not, extreme. The taxes are on the average guy. They have, I think, in Sweden, I think the VAT is about 30% sales tax that you have to pay. I mean, this is a high sales tax. I mean, and then the income taxes impact average people. So, because they know, the Swedes know, if they really jack up taxes on businesses, the businesses will just leave and they'll destroy their economy. So
it's almost like they should just fucking nationalize everything and actually be socialist instead of be social democrats. Again, this guy, I don't know how many times I can keep saying they don't know what they're talking about. I want to see what else is in this video, but at the same time, it's just stupid shit. And I feel like I would just be saying the exact same thing in response. That it's all just so stupid.
At least they're trying to redistribute the wealth from the middle class to the middle class, But, this stuff doesn't work. And you create generations of people who now don't want to work, who just want to live off of other people.
Yeah, because that's how the Soviet Union operated, folks. You had just a whole civilization of people that just sat around and did nothing. They didn't build anything. They didn't build bridges and roads. They didn't build space station and satellites and dams and nuclear power plants, and they didn't build a giant military infrastructure that defeated the Nazis, and they were also lazy, folks. The Red Army was just a bunch of lazy guys that just sat on their loafers all day in mommy's basement.
You destroy the initiatives, you destroy the incentives. And so the success that.
And once again, the only incentive that capitalism gives you is work for me to earn just enough so you'll fucking survive, and if you complain, I'll fire you. If you call that incentive, then if I point a gun at your head and tell you to give me all your money, then you can call that incentive too. It's not incentive, my friend, it's coercion. You think people would honestly work in some shithole capitalist hell world like Amazon warehouse if they had a choice? You don't think that they would negotiate for better conditions and higher pay? This libertarians just don't know jack shit about the real world and how it works. And this guy's a CEO. It's so weird. You can be a CEO and be smart in your field and just be a complete fucking dumbass in literally everything else.
That Sweden enjoyed is a byproduct of freedom and capitalism. And since they moved in that direction, they have slowed down that progress. But the Swedish people have recognized that. And that's why the reforms that have been made over the last decade or two have been to turn back the clock, to move away from those socialist policies and to try to dismantle. Now, they haven't gone completely the other way, just like New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand went so far. They went from a totally socialist type economy.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna just cut it off here. I don't know if I can keep listening to this. It's making me sick, dudes. Fucking New Zealand, uh, a fully socialist economy. Is there really any point in me going any further, folks? It's obvious these people are fucking idiots. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Anything else would just be an exercise in futility. It would just be driving the point home even further. I mean, let's skip ahead a little bit to see if he goes on from the Sweden bullshit, because I'm just tired of this Sweden straw man. Sweden's not socialist, you dip ass.
Down to 18. I mean, I don't even think 21. It should be higher. If you think about the original voting age when it was 21, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, think about a guy who was 21 protect our rights. It's not here to give us free stuff. It's not here to take to vote. The important thing is to have good government, right? And what is good government? Good government is government that respects private property, that respects.
Wrong, my friend. Good government is one that's controlled by the people, for the people, and of the people. Good government isn't one that protects and capitulates that the interest of private property and big capital. I can't listen to this guy anymore. Libertarianism is the dumbest philosophy in politics. Uh, it's the dumbest philosophy in politics that has the kind of following and kind of backing that it does. Maybe in the future I'll talk about some other dumb political ideas, but libertarianism really stands out just because of how big it is, how popular it is. It's really stupid.